Without sponsor?
I wouldn't have nobody's heard from.
Can we legally have one?
Yeah, you got a quorum. You don't have to have an attorney here.
Had meetings without the solicitor before,
Not that I can remember.
a
Yeah.
couple months ago.
I just pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Mayor Luma,
Here.
Ball,
Here.
Earl,
Here.
Miller, Motter,
Here.
Walty,
Here.
Weingartner.
All right. The minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. So approved. Fiscal officer report.
There is $1,560,291.57 in all funds and $209,290.52 in the general fund.
All right. The bills were read on resolution 22-4-1. Was adopted on a motion by
Motion.
second.
Second.
Ball,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Motter,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Rhonda Knox.
Yes, and what I have to say, I would like for it to go on public record. Rodney, I will be addressing you on this. I had a telephone call last week from a person who told them that I had told you not to say anything, to just keep quiet about all things going on. And Rodney, I never said that. I don't like for people to tell lies about me.
You did say that, sitting in my office.
I did not. I did not. I thought we resolved this issue in executive session, and never would I have told you to keep your mouth shut.
You sat right back there and told me that I was to keep my mouth shut. I was only here to break ties. I was nobody.
No, I did not say that. I did not, and I will argue with you from now on
You're
about
just getting to
that.
the good part.
And I feel
Something
that I
Ronnie said to her before
deserve
she was off
a-
council.
an apology, but I don't expect to get one. So that's all I have to say. But I want everybody to know I did not say that. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks, Rhonda. See you, Rhonda.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Wally.
Okay, I have a couple things. So one thing is about the military tribute banners, and you can pass those out. I have it highlighted where they were hung improperly. And first of all, I don't blame the guys that hung them at all, because I think they were misled. Maybe they didn't have the full instructions. But it's supposed to have zip ties on them. And I'm sure that the other members of the auxiliary would be more than happy to supply the zip ties if that's the issue for them. And there was a couple things too with the ones at the south end of town. Those are getting some of them are blown off, just blown away. And I think maybe those poles that some of them are on are not sturdy enough for them. I realize the banners are not too big for the utility poles, but for those smaller poles, they may be too big for those. So those need to be removed from the small poles. I think they're like fiberglass or something maybe, and I think one of them has broken. One of the poles. So they need to move those onto the regular utility poles. And they can even double them up, because some of them are doubled in places. You can put 2 flags to a pole. And I would like that to be done by Memorial Day, if at all possible. I think most of the people in the village, most of the community would want them done by then too. And then my other thing is, I think that the village needs to do something for Pastor Don Smith, whether it's plant a tree, have a plaque, do something for him. And in May, a proclamation of Pastor Don Smith Day. And I thought that May 22nd would be the perfect day for that, because that's his birthday. And he's been in this, well, he's been at the Baptist Church, I think, since 1984. Yeah, 1984. He was a pastor out there. But I feel like he's been a pastor and a friend to the whole community. And I just think that something should be done in his memory. So that's all I had.
Okay. Committee reports.
The building committee met on March 7th. We walked through a building that the village owns in the park. Decided that we should have it professionally inspected before we move forward with any plans to use it for communities, and we're going to meet again after that's been done. And I passed out the minutes to you all.
What is it? What's wrong with it, I guess?
The house that the village owns at the park
Yeah.
has been in the process of renovation to be utilized as a community center type closed shelter house. And there had been some question as to whether it should be torn down or not. I have our Ohio Plan Insurance Asset Management coming in to look at it and make an assessment, because I explained to him what it was, what we paid for it, what the value of property is right now as far as buildings, and he wants to take a first-hand look at the property, at the building, and see if it is viable for that purpose, and if not for that purpose, as a storage facility for the village.
Is it possible to, because of concession stands being so far away, would it be possible, if it's usable, to have that as a concession stand for the other ball diamonds in the soccer fields, or what would that
They
involve?
could, but the way we was looking at setting it up, to start with, because of the cost, there would be no bathroom facility, no kitchen facility. It would just be a closed shelter area. We do have restrooms. The future plans for the park would be to put actual restrooms like we have at the south end, at the north end. But that's down the road. We've been putting in porta johns to take care of the problem. So the building has had a new roof put on it. The inside has had all the interior walls removed. A steel heavy beam put down the center, because it was a prefab, modular type house. So what it ended up being is big open area, some posts down the center, drywall, decent floor. We have tables that we donated to the village from the school. We set up tables and chairs, and if you want to have a reunion, you bring your crock pots or whatever, plug them in and do your thing. That's what it amounts to.
Was there a mold problem, so they said that there might be?
I looked at it, the
I looked
building
at it.
committee looked at it.
No
There,
mold problems inside that building whatsoever.
there may be some under it, but remediation of that would be minimal, you know. I don't think we'd have a problem, but we would have it checked, you know, to make sure that there wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So
What's the address there, Mike?
it's the park.
Okay, well, that don't help me, we don't want to
Yeah.
look it up.
Yeah,
I don't know on the
it
top
was
of my head.
Ohio, had an Ohio Street address, but I don't know what it was.
It's the old Cox property.
Okay.
Coxes used to live there years ago. They had
Yeah.
a couple of daughters.
Yep.
Is there no way that building could be turned into a community building so that it could be accessed by groups and, like you said?
Yeah, that's the main.
This is what we're talking about doing,
Yeah.
Okay.
but somebody wants it tore down.
So,
But I'd rather see that than a storage building.
oh, yeah, I would too, but rather than dispose of the building on the property, use it as storage rather than, you know, tear it down and do something like that. But the main goal that I've had in mind all along is to have it so you have an inside building where people can gather, if it's the elderly want to go and play cards, if somebody wants to have a baby shower, or whatever it might be. And we do a rental like we do for the shelter house. No, it's not to make money, it's only to recoup the time spent to keep it clean and so on.
Is there heat and air conditioning, any kind of?
We would have that put in, yes.
When did we get this? When did we buy it? How long ago?
Probably around 2010, 11, somewhere in there.
Oh, wow.
But we have been working on it kind of hit and miss, only because our shelter house and gazebo were in very poor shape. And I couldn't see investing money into that building until we had those taken care of, which now we have a new gazebo, our new shelter house, and the gazebo's had a new roof, all repainted and everything, so now we're good to go there. So I don't feel so bad about investing money into that building when the others are up to shape now.
I don't know if that's the time to bring up, did you pass out the old business sheet?
No.
Because I didn't get one. That it was said, and Mayor Loom, I'm hoping you can reiterate on that, or
Is what it is.
that the Ohio Municipal League will come and inspect all municipal buildings for free. Is this true?
Yes.
I mean, I think
It's
that
through the
should be.
Ohio plan, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but when they come, it'd be great if they looked at all the buildings at the same time. So is that something we could plan for?
Well, it's actually our insurance, isn't it, Angie?
It is. It's through, it's really not the Ohio Municipal League. It's actually through like the Ohio Plan insurance policy that we have through the state. It's actually through Stolly, but it's an Ohio plan. When I spoke with him before I gave him to Mike, the only concern with that is they're more risk management. They're not technically, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they're not really like overall like building inspectors. They can,
Right.
so they could give you a good idea, but they might have to then, it might not all be for free. They might have to give it to somebody else that would be able to go more in depth with it. But they can inspect, but maybe not to the, as thorough as maybe what we would like on certain buildings.
We're looking for value as insured, not as like my insurance company come in and say your house is worth $20,000, we'll insure it for $20,000. We only insure it for $200,000.
Right. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure exactly what they do. He did say that he was going to get a hold of Mike and come in as soon as possible. He just hasn't came in yet.
Walk off sometime in this coming month. We'll go over it.
Okay. Zoning board, you want to speak on that, please?
I'm sorry, the zoning board, you want me to speak?
Yeah.
I already spoke, I'm sorry. The zoning board, we met and I don't have those dates in front of me. I know you have minutes from our meeting in March, I believe, like March 31st or something. But we met a couple times since then, and we decided that we were gonna try to meet every other week because we want to get the new zoning stuff done. And we do have questions for you as a solicitor also. There's some things that have come up. And so what we're trying to do is meet bi-weekly in order to work on the document that I think.
I did not put it in the packets.
Provided to us, the draft amended stuff. We've started looking at that. And then the other issue is that we've discovered is that there really isn't any forms per se. We have a very simplistic building form. It doesn't even list the parcel ID, doesn't list a lot of information that you can find on other types of building permits in other areas, even in the township. We're comparing with Wayne Township, some of their stuff, with some of their forms. We don't have a form, for example, that if they want an appeal, if they want to say, hey, the current zoning, we want to have a 7-foot instead of a 10-foot easement between our side yard and the next property. We want to locate a building in a different spot than what it's allowed. We don't have any forms for that. So I'm not real sure. I know that.
Have you guys reached out to other villages?
I have sample forms right now, okay? I haven't reached out to other villages, but we've looked at some from other townships,
Okay.
okay? But
The one that I also represent the village of Spencerville.
yes, and
And
I
I
do
know-
have Spencerville's.
Yeah, I was going to direct you to call
Yeah,
Sean.
I went out to their
Call,
site and
call
downloaded-
Sean Chapman, their village administrator, and talk to him. I'm sure he have a bunch of forms.
Yeah, I did download their zoning packet.
Okay.
I haven't downloaded, I honestly don't know off the top of my head, because I've got theirs, I've got Wayne Township's, I've got ours. I'm trying to do, we're trying to do some comparisons and cross comparisons. But the bigger issue, I think, isn't just the new draft amended stuff. It's that we have current zoning rules in place, but like I said, we don't have the forms. We cannot find, and I asked Mr. Reidenauer, we asked him in our last meeting, where is the official zoning map? We have a Xerox copy of a map, there's no date on it, it's not been notarized, it's not correct, it doesn't even have the Dollar General as a commercial property. So it's not accurate. Where are the zoning maps? And he indicated to us, and he can tell you himself, that when this work was done, all the maps disappeared. So we don't have an official zoning map for the village that I know of. And that can be provided to the zoning board of appeals and the zoning planning commission.
When you guys do that, is that provided to the county? Does the county have that at the
We've
recorder's
tried.
office?
I don't know. We've tried.
The only thing with our zoning and building permits is we collect a fee, but everything goes to the county for tax assessment. Is all it's for. They I don't think do that.
Yeah, form-wise, I think, there's nothing set in stone. I mean, if your current zoning ordinances that are set in place right now don't really specify anything on what the form is, you guys can just incorporate a new
We
form.
can adopt forms without having a hearing or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a new form. You're not changing the zoning ordinance. Once you guys get done, obviously amending this zoning ordinance, you have to have your public hearings and stuff like that. The map, I would have to look into that. I wouldn't know where that, unless if it's not online or it's not saved someplace, then I have no clue, honestly.
Well, typically in the past, if somebody wanted to build, building inspector look at the property, look at the setbacks, those were the only major requirements, and if there was what do I want to call it? Not easement, but
A variance.
a variance, they would, give a letter of request.
But obviously, the village has areas that are zoned commercial, areas that are zoned industrial,
Yes.
and no one
That's
has
the
a...
question. There are, the current map that we have, there are commercial properties located on it. But like I said, for example, the Dollar General has been changed to commercial. It's still listed as agriculture for the Dollar General's Act. So what we currently have, the little copy that we have, we
Well-
cannot say that it's accurate.
Okay. Now, if the Dollar General still listed agricultural, was that ever changed when was that ever changed with the county? Obviously, this council, not this council, but the previous councils, when they approved them to come in, would
There were
have...
hearings and stuff, but I don't know. I think it was changed.
Yeah.
It was changed to a commercial property, but it's not.
It was changed. Anything
And the only
get...
thing that is the missing link is the little yellow or green Sharpie on the map,
But-
showing, I mean, that's the only indication that we.
But I know, so if I was to look up the Dollar General property on the tax certificate for the auditor's office, would it say agricultural or commercial?
I called the auditor's office and asked them specifically that question because I looked at the website and the title department that lists the property and all, and for example, in that particular property, it says commercial. So I asked them, I said, does that mean if any property in the village or anywhere is listed and it says commercial, that's a commercial, zone commercial? And she said, no, that's about what it's used for.
Okay.
So that's the answer I got from one of the employees. Now, you as an attorney may get a different answer
Yeah.
speaking to
And-
somebody else.
well,
That's
and
what they told us.
And I understand that for the fact that you guys, it could be zoned industrial, but you guys give them a variance, which you're not changing the zoning, you're just letting them use that
Mhm.
parcel or whatever in a different format. And so, but how a map of what the current village sits in the zoning, my firm wouldn't have any copy of that. I could look, but I doubt that. It would probably be whatever was done here,
Right.
and the zoning board could redraw one up based on what
All
they...
the steps were taken to address the property correctly as commercial property and everything. Like I say, the only missing link that I'm seeing here
It's just
is the little
map.
map that we've had since, I believe, 1978, where when things change, you take a Sharpie, it's different colors, and this is commercial, this is agricultural,
Yeah.
this is residential. I think that's the missing link that we don't
There
have,
should
showing
be.
that.
This is my personal opinion. There should be an official map somewhere that has a date on it that says this is what was done, and that map should be, if it's changed, it needs to be dated and made official again. There's no,
Yeah.
there's nothing,
Because I know for a fact I've had to look up stuff for Bass Township, and you get right on their website, and boom, there's their zoning map.
right. And I'm sure we'd like to get to that, but right now we need to just have something.
I did get permission from my work, I can use the plotter.
Okay, you can use the, because Mr. Walty was at one of the meetings and we can create the plotter. What I'm wondering is what the county engineer has, if he has stuff plotted out already, that we could use his plotter map to.
And that's
to
what I
make it-
would-
Yeah, I
See,
mean,
Jeff, this is what we actually have right here to go by.
Oh, so that's the current one?
That's currently.
well, that's what we
What
have.
we
I don't
think.
know if it's not.
How current it is.
I don't know, I don't know. It's more current than 1970s because it has the Ben Yale property extension on it, and it's got the industrial plot for the
Okay.
manufacturing facility out here.
Right.
So something's been updated, but again, there's no date, there's no information, there's nothing.
I would just recommend that the zoning board, as they move forward,
Mhm.
should try to update that as best as they can. Okay. So that's what I would suggest, is just go off of the most current map that you can find and just try to update it the best that you guys can. So,
Okay.
So
So,
there's been a lot of things change over the years where properties were zoned commercial back in the 70s through the 80s, and then somehow got changed back to residential. For instance, the property at 215 West Mulberry was commercial zone property. And then that business moved and it reverted back to residential. I don't know if there was any action or anything taken to do that.
Mike, you don't have a zoning inspector, you don't have any additional files back in your office, do you? Because the only file Angie could give me, I don't even know if there's paper in it that's even a year old.
Right, and I think most of that was stuff that I had started. There was a couple documents in there from the past, but yeah, that was all, and I've just added stuff to it since I've been here.
So there's obviously been, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody,
No,
there's
yeah.
been a real lack of record keeping.
Mhm.
Very poor record keeping.
Seems like since the 70s.
Well, yeah, or maybe the
And-
60s, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But I mean, so we fix it going forward.
Yes,
And so
exactly.
that's my suggestion is take the map that you guys have and try to get that as correct as you can on how it's zoned now. Obviously, if there's a house there and it's residential and someone's living in it, but on the map it says commercial, I mean,
Well, commercial property by our current zoning can be used as a residential property.
and we have no idea if there's no record keeping if that was ever
Ever
given a
officially
variance or whatever. Now, speaking to your thing about, stuff reverting back to residential, it all depends on what the zoning ordinance says right now, because the Village of Lafayette, their zoning ordinance says if the commercial property exists, but then it stops being a commercial property, and then it changes ownership, it automatically reverts back to residential.
I think Perry Township has this.
Something like that. And so therefore, it could be zoned commercial, but then it just automatically through years reverts back to
Yeah.
residential.
Yeah,
But
that's
it
what
may
I was- that's what I
may
was
show
saying.
commercial on the map.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure ours says that, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying that as an example. So, but yeah, so going forward, the zoning board can just look at that map and try to update it as correctly as it can. And then once the new zoning ordinances pass after the hearings and all that, update the map to be 2022, 2023, whenever it's actually completed. And then just try to go forward there if you guys, the best that you can. But I would reach out to the engineer's office, the county office, to see if they have anything on file that they may be able to give you guys to go off of.
And I didn't mean to take over the meeting, you guys, but there's,
Yeah.
to me, I think the zoning is something that we need, obviously, it's why I'm on the committee, that we need to address. Because it can be very litigious if you don't have what you need in place and you're not following what you have in place. So we are meeting, we're trying, we currently were scheduled for every other week. Our last meeting got canceled, Mr. Luma and I were the only ones that were able to attend. I know that Mr. Harden called in sick, and then I think when your granddaughter, her husband had to work, and I'm not sure what your and Bob's reasons were, but you guys weren't able to attend, so we weren't able to meet, but we're scheduled to meet on Thursday of this week.
And if you guys have stuff that you want me to address in between meetings, shoot me an email, bullet point
Yeah.
list.
I asked, one of the things that we want to try to do is send you the minutes of the meetings after we've had them, if you can review them and,
No,
you
that's
know,
fine.
because what I'm doing is, because I've been typing them, and that's why I'm saying we're taking each section of that, I've typed it up, and we're discussing it, and if there's an action item or a question for the solicitor, I'm putting that out right in the minutes.
That's fine.
So that if there would be, that way, I'm not calling you and bugging you, you can take 5 or 10 or whatever the time frame is, to look at it, say, solicitor, this is what I need to do, and we can hopefully efficiently use your time.
Nope, that is fine with me, so.
Okay?
All right, let's move on. Police report.
Okay, I wanted to make council aware that we're currently having sound issues on Facebook. I don't know if it's a software issue or if it's Facebook. Both changed as I was setting things up tonight, so it could be a combination of both. But currently the sound is real pixelated. So if you get anybody complaining that they couldn't hear what was going on in the meeting tonight, Angie is recording on our backup recording device in the event something like this would happen. The audio is still being captured. So I wanted to make council aware of that. Also, for the street committee, there was one comment actually as I was resetting things I saw on there. There's a request for a street light to be installed at the end of Wayne Street, and I'm assuming that's back by the recycle center. I'm not exactly sure. They just said it was a dark area. And then there was also been a request previously made to have a street light installed at the corner of Cherry and Karen Street. So if the street committee wants to look at that and coordinate with the village administrator to see if that's something that can be done, or if it's something that doesn't need to be done, that's not a police matter, it's a street committee matter. So whoever's on that committee, you're welcome. For the actual report that I prepared, for the second consecutive month, we have been atypically busy for this time of year. As I mentioned before, we've had multiple drug investigations ongoing that we're partnering with the Grand Lake Drug Task Force and other agencies on. Additionally, we have had multiple domestic disputes, a missing person who is ultimately located safely, an online threat to our school, protection order request, an alleged rape case, an ongoing arson case investigation from September, a hit-skip crash into a parked vehicle, and multiple non-criminal reports that have been filed. I want to speak specifically about the threat towards our school. On Saturday, April 16th, Officer Humes was working. He contacted me stating the FBI and several other law enforcement agencies were involved in a possible terroristic threat being made to our community. The FBI reported Twitter traffic alleging there would be a school shooting on the anniversary of the Columbine Massacre, which was April 20th. The original tip was submitted to the FBI's tip line. We worked with the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Public Safety, Auglaize County Sheriff's Office, and any other entities that may have called in, such as the Toledo Police Department, to gather intelligence to determine the threat level and potential persons of interest. Our investigation revealed that there was one local person of interest that was a juvenile. The juvenile no longer resides in Waynesfield. However, the post was made when the juvenile was visiting a relative here in town, and we were able to trace what device the postings were made on. The device was at a residence here in town. After interviewing the juvenile and reviewing the massive amounts of information provided to us by the aforementioned partner agencies, I am confident that there were some definite issues with the juvenile. That said, while the postings were very cryptic in nature, it appears there was a former significant other of the juvenile that was taking the cryptic posts and adding detail that the local juvenile posted. Then, as social media often does, the downward spiral of rumors begin to circulate and makes our jobs a lot more challenging. In the end, I was present at WG Schools the entire school day on April 20th out of an abundance of caution. However, there were no issues. Criminal charges will not be filed against that juvenile because while the juvenile admitted to posting bizarre posts on their Twitter account, there were no threats being made by that juvenile, and all posts fell within their First Amendment rights of free speech. And after consulting with the FBI, the other individuals who were retweeting and altering the interpretation of the juvenile tweets were located in either other states or countries, so the FBI said they would not be pursuing charges either. All in all, the quick action had prevented the rumor mill from going crazy or worse, or an active threat to be substantiated. The long several days of work to come to that point. But thankfully, it didn't appear to materialize. When we haven't been on duty, the calls haven't stopped either. We've had a couple of deaths in the village this past month, but so far nothing has been deemed suspicious. We've also had reports of scammers circulating phone calls and emails. This is typical for this time of year, as many people who have received their tax returns, so scammers are trying to prey on folks right now knowing they may have extra money. Add into the normal work we're doing at the school, the typical annual influx of golf cart inspections, and attempting to patrol as frequently as possible, you can imagine there hasn't been a lot of downtime. And as the weather warms, I do anticipate the call volume to continue that upward trend. The Property Maintenance Committee has received their first couple of complaints. The PMC members should have the complaint forms in their packet or may have received it before tonight's meeting. Once the PMC determines if there's a violation, then they will proceed to do as they were trained to do. Hopefully, if a violation or violations are found, then a conversation with the property owner will result in satisfactory action. I do want to note that a committee meeting is not needed to be scheduled at this time, as there are steps that are to be taken by the PMC members individually before a formal meeting may need to be set. On April 22nd, Wayne Township Fire and EMS held a prom awareness with the WG juniors and seniors at the school, and I was present for that. I want to say special thanks to guest speaker Mark Reamish, who spoke to the students about the death of his son and recent WG graduate Jeremy. Jeremy died in a crash about a mile away from his home on Middle Pike after distracted driving and being impaired by alcohol. Mark's powerful message to the students is one I hope resonated with everyone who heard him speak. Based on their body language and their comments afterwards, I think it definitely resonated with them. It was probably one of the more powerful messages I've heard in my career, and there were not a lot of dry eyes in the gym. So Mark and his daughter also spoke. They had a very good message.
Yeah, I talked to Mark Sunday at church, and he felt the same thing.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, he did a great job. The annual prom was held on the 23rd. All in all, everything went well. Both Officer Humes and I worked before and during the prom, and there were no issues. I then worked the post-prom, which was held in the Lima Mall, providing security up there, and while Officer Humes patrolled the village, and we had no issues at either location. As is typical in the springtime, we have seen our share of damaging weather, from heavy rains, very strong winds, and even some hail at times. Some residents in the village have experienced some property damage. Mostly branches and limbs came down, trash cans and other loose items were scattered. One notable property was on Guthrie Street, which had a dying tree fall onto the living room and garage area of the residents during a downburst of wind on March 31st at about 2 a.m. Thankfully, no one was injured, and the residents, along with neighbors and family, worked to remove the tree off, the very large tree off the house. The village actually had some minor damage during that March 31st storm as well. Multiple trees were taken down on the old Betty Byer property back by the recycle center. About 3 to 5 of the trees actually looked fairly healthy, but the quick downburst of straight line winds was just too much for them to handle. In other news, Canine Hunter had his annual checkup. Veterinarian Nathan Metz, co-owner of Metz Pets, gave Hunter a glowing report after doing a very thorough examination and vaccination update. Metz said that Hunter is very healthy, though he is showing a slight increase in the wear of his teeth, likely from being an avid chewer and the bite work training that we regularly do. All in all, Metz couldn't believe how friendly Hunter is for being a German Shepherd. He said Hunter is likely one of the best mannered shepherds he has provided care for. I jokingly told him he was only acting on his best behavior because he was at the vet. But I was very pleased with the report. My goal is for Hunter to have him work until he's about 10 or 11 years old, and then we'll likely have to have a discussion about retirement for him, not me. He's 8 right now, so we've got a couple of years. Did want to officially report to council that Officer Amanda Hefner resigned officially from the Waynesfield Police Department effective March 27th to take a new job. Unfortunately, her new employer does not allow her to maintain a law enforcement commission, so her goal of continuing to work part-time here while working a full-time job is not possible. I wish Amanda good luck in her new career. Told her if things don't work out, she could always contact me and we could see what we could do to help her. At this point in time, I'm not going to actively look to hire someone. This time of year, it's very difficult to train someone. I may start looking at the process later in the spring or early summer, but quite frankly, there's a lot of full-time openings that are not getting filled, so it's going to be challenging to look to fill that position anyway. The final piece of information I have for you tonight is that you may or may not have noticed that I haven't been able to patrol since April 13th. I had a semi-urgent surgery that resulted in about 33 stitches in my back. I was completely off work for 3 days and then allowed to resume work in a light duty status until April, it says 29th, it's actually 28th. After the 28th, I should be able to resume normal patrol on top of everything else I've been doing. So this light duty status allowed me to catch up on reports and do more reports that came in, as I've already explained, do some mandated continuing professional training hours and overall office responsibilities. Believe me when I say I'm ready to get back on the road, though, because I can only handle so much time in the office.
Nathan, what kind of process do we have to go through to maybe ride with you? In the evening?
Sure. So basically, if any council member, mayor, solicitor, if you that board want to come and do a ride along, you just coordinate with me, and there's a waiver I have you sign, basically saying if you die on my watch, it's on you, not on me. And then we'll just coordinate a date and time to make that happen. Right now, because school is still in session, I'm working a lot of days. the evening shifts are covered mainly by Steve on the weekends. But once school lets out, and I am taking a trip to Honduras in May. Once I get back from all that, then my hours will be scattered in time. But just get with me, and we can make that happen.
Hopefully you get to protect yourself.
I'll at least show you how to use the radio. So if I'm getting shot at, you can at least get me help. So.
Kind of aggressive to talk.
Call 911.
Yeah, right.
Village administrative report.
Okay, you have my report. There are some things in the additional information section that we need to discuss. Starting with a scheduled meeting with AES, which is formerly EPNL. They're wanting to upgrade the transmission system coming from Lakeview to Waynesfield, which would be a great thing as far as power outages and so on. And I'm sure it will not be at no cost to the village. I would assume they would change the rates of the transmission cost. That's one thing. Another thing they're talking is changing the voltage. If they change the voltage, we could be looking at substantial cost to upgrade the substation, either with upgraded transformers, or we would have to put in step-down transformers. Who knows? But I've scheduled this meeting. They wanted to do it over the phone. I said, there's no way I'm going to discuss this over the phone. AMP will be here on the 9th at 10:30. Representatives from AES will be here, and we'll discuss and try to find out what their future plan is. They're wanting to know what our growth plan would be, so they can figure out what they want to do. But this could result in a very costly changeover for the village if they do change the voltage.
Mike, what's coming in now, 44? 40?
24.
24? And what do they want to raise it to?
Probably 36. That's what a lot of the communities are going to. And now, I did have discussion several months ago with AMP. They are toying with the idea of purchasing this transmission line from DP&L. Now that AES owns it, I'm not so sure they want to sell it. So I don't know what will happen there, if anything.
So they want to start at New Hampshire,
Lakeview,
or Lakeview, and come all the way up.
as far as I know. That's what we discussed.
Is there any, what's the word I want to use? Come on, I'm going to tell you now.
Is this what you talked about a couple of years ago?
Oh, is there any grants or anything like that available to help us with it?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
Now, the one thing that I can be fairly certain, if AMP is involved, and if there is money to be spent, I'm pretty sure that we could go through another loan process with AMP to cover the cost. Of course, we got to pay it back, but the upfront money, I would assume we could probably do that again. Because that's how we financed this upgrade going through town. That's how we financed upgrading the bucket truck and all that. It was through that. Are we done with that loan?
We are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
thought we was.
Mm-hmm.
So we have no choice on this, right? Eventually it's going to happen no matter what.
The way it sounds.
Yeah.
So all I can do is try to, whatever is going to work out best for the village of Waynesfield as far as cost and, upgrading the system, that's a great idea. But there's a cost incurred.
And will AMP change the transformers at the substation, or do we have to have Solomon?
We'll have to have Solomon or,
I don't know the other one. The other one I know is Solomon.
yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really an added expense.
Absolutely. And if you was to change transformers or do that, I can foresee several $100,000 of expenditure,
Reclosers have to be changed too.
probably. So, anyone that would like to attend that meeting at 10:30 on May 9th, here at the municipal building, then feel free. I don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
You say May 9th?
Yes. It's on Monday. The next thing I wanted to discuss is, I met with Access Engineering over the West Walpole Street. And the way it's looking, it's not gonna go out for bid till this fall because the cost of materials has went up so much, we don't have enough money. So what we're going to be doing is looking for other options as far as funding and hoping the cost of materials and so on level out to be able to do it. West Walpole Street, it's going to be there whether we build or not. The problem I have with this whole scenario is the water tower that needs relined and the lagoon system that needs the pump upgrades done. So I'm pressuring Craig to figure out if we can pull some of this funding to at least get that done this year.
We're gonna change the aeration pumps back there, is that what they're gonna do?
No,
Back the lagoons?
we used to have a gravity feed lagoon system. Now we pump into the lagoons. With the infiltration that we have with stormwater, those pumps will not keep up. Every time we have a rain event, we have to take a trash pump out there and help it along, okay? I've got guys tied up, it's not a good situation. So what they're doing is going to increase the size of these pumps so they'll pump more through.
Was that undersized when we had that put in? Why
Well,
was the problem?
the engineering firm really had no way to know how much infiltration and so on that we have. So they sized it to what they thought should be plenty. Well, in most cases, it's fine. But there are rain events where I have to call the guys in and say, hey, we're overflowing, we gotta move.
So we just pump it into the stream then?
No. We're pumping it into the lagoon. It comes down into the, what you would call a retaining
Right.
pan, okay? And then it pumps out of there into the lagoon. Well, it gets,
Can't
overflows.
Gotcha, okay.
And I can't have it overflow. The pond will handle it, it's just that the pumping system and the retaining system there won't.
That's a lot of infiltration.
It's terrible.
Oh, we worked extra hard today after all this rain.
Yeah?
It would handle, but it would handle this rain,
Today was bad.
Yeah.
But when we have those continual downpours and stuff and everything, when you start seeing some of the places back up with stormwater, you can bet that lagoons is not pumping enough very well.
I know at times before they put in the third lagoon, there's a sanitary that right by my, it'd be on Earl Street. And there's a
Where it popped the
sanitary-
lid?
It popped the lid clear off of it, and I had stuff come back up. And that
And
was,
that's why we go down and take a pump to keep it moving, otherwise that would happen again.
yeah. Does it still blow the lid off right there at the corner?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Sorry, I'm done.
Okay. Next thing that I would like to talk about, I'm going to talk in generalities here as far as employees. I'm not going to, do any names or anything else, but we need to think real hard going forward what we're gonna do about employees, how we're gonna compensate employees, and so on. Where we run into a problem with the trend that's going on right now, to hire anybody, they're wanting and getting more than what we're paying, okay? Or very close to what we're paying current employees. The same thing happened at Walmart when Walmart started hiring new employees, paying more than the people who've been there for 10 years, then they walk. Well, I can't afford to have people walk, so trying to come up with some kind of a plan to get people enticed to come to work here and be able to keep the ones that we have. One thing that we've all been faced with this electrical system situation with no linemen is the cost for linemen. We're still doing tons of rebuild work and everything. I think our billing for the last 4 months through AMP was what, $5,400?
Yeah, it was from January until
Which
March.
is nothing compared to paying an employee and paying all the insurance and everything else. So what I want council to kind of think about, if I was to have an employee, and if I was to find another employee that would be willing to do and go through the training to do some of the secondary electrical work that I need, which would be pulling meters on shut-off day, fixing street lights, doing a house drop, doing those types of things, there has to be a value to the village and there has to be a value to the employees. And what I want you kind of think about, what's it worth to you? To at least get somebody on board that can do some of this work. Because right now, the way we're doing shut-offs is I try to schedule AMP circuit rider in on the 16th of the month. And I schedule certain work to be done. They get here in the morning at 8 o'clock, we go out, pull meters that need to be pulled, and hopefully people take care of the situation, pay their bill, and we can have it turned back on before they leave. If they don't do that, then I can't guarantee when their power will be turned back on.
So Mike, is there anybody down there now that, because I know AMP, because I went through AMP Ohio's training down in Columbus, is there anybody down there now that could be, that you would want to send or that you could send to get some of this training, to do some of this
Yes.
minor work?
Yes. Yes. And I do have a potential person to come on board for the village that would also be willing to do that type of work. They're not in a position where they want to be alone, okay? They don't want to go through a 4-year training. They don't want, they just said that they would try to help out and do the training to be able, like say, pull meters, do a house drop, put up a, of course they would have to be trained on the bucket truck.
Right.
And the digger truck, operation and all that, which I can get that accomplished through AMP and through Lakeview, Jackson Center, Walpole, we can make that happen.
So would it be a good idea to offer a little more incentive for somebody to do that? I don't know whether Heath or whoever.
That's what I'm saying is we need to offer that incentive, give a person or persons, okay, we're willing to put out this much per hour to start and do this, and then after you've completed, you'll be at this level.
Yeah, because it would save money if you had somebody just do the secondary, where you wouldn't have to call it the AMP Ohio to do that.
Well, and
When
I
you do
can't
that,
always.
don't you have to have a certified lineman there?
No,
Supervisor?
not on secondary. No.
How much is the training? This is what I'm thinking of. Just
Okay,
ballpark. If we hire somebody and you put in some money for training, then there needs to be a guarantee that that person will work for so many years.
Well,
We discussed this before.
we already
Yeah.
have that in place, but we may have to do some modifications on that. You know, I think it's what, 2 years and so on. That's a hard pill for some people to swallow. Some people don't care, but some people do.
2 years is not very long.
Pardon?
If you've invested in training.
Right, but it's kind of the thing, okay, I don't want to be a lineman. I don't want you to spend $10,000 to train me. I want to do this, but it costs you $2,000. Okay, so I shouldn't have to stay here for the rest of my life, you know, to pay back the debt.
Yeah, because that little bit of training to do secondary, 2 years, you know, it's not gonna let this guy be able to jump to Wapak or someplace like that, you know. So what, do you have any idea what the cost is for a training, say Heath or somebody want to go down there?
Through AMP, I haven't checked into that part yet. I do know that I can send my employees down to Lakeview and train with Dan. I can have them train with the circuit rider while they're here. And all I have to do is figure out if AMP can give some kind of, not a certification,
A
but
certificate.
documentation that they've taken this training and are qualified to do that work.
Does that involve any kind of lawsuit if they don't do the job right?
Anything involves a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Does the person need to be bonded or?
I don't think so. I would have to check into that.
That you would have to ask your insurance company if they would want them bonded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But typically, village insurances only cover bond issues for the people that handle the money.
Right.
It's typically what they're bonded at, but, you know, good, very good question there. I mean, that would be, you know,
I mean, what is the backup if they go in and screw up something, you know, in a house? And
yeah, because they're going to come after the
Well,
village.
yeah, we're always under that gun, you know.
Yeah, because even if AMP
That's why
comes
we
in
have
and does it,
insurance and everything
yeah,
else.
even if AMP comes in and does it and screws up, they're going to sue the village no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you have a contract with AMP. AMP at that point is a contractor to the village, so the village is still going to get. It'll be a legal battle, but the village is still going to be drug in, even if AMP screws something up. So you guys just have to know that from the get-go, and it's going to be a matter of, you know, our claim would be they're an independent contractor, we had no control, da-da-da-da, but anyways.
Well, like I say, I'm just trying to come up to a partial solution to the problem that we have. As far as not having a lineman, we've advertised for over a year now, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon.
So as council, do we have to make some kind of a motion so he can do this, or is he going to do this and then present it to us, and then we can?
I would just have Mike find out what the going rate is for a person that can do the secondary electrical, and present that to council,
Right,
and
that's
you guys
what I
make
want
that
to
decision.
do.
Yeah.
I want to put down some numbers for you people to be able to discuss and say, yeah, we'll do that or no, we won't, but this is what we will do. You know, but there was no point in doing that until I got a feeling from you people what you really want to do.
Now, I know it depends on what the money's gonna be, but is there any way you can send whoever, like a year contract? That way, they can't quit, they'll let you know, you can get a replacement. So, because we both know when you train somebody, chances are they go somewhere else to get a better job.
Right. So
That's
what
I
happens.
don't 2 years.
That's-
Right, but-
That's kind of reason why we got the 2 year.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Tim, I know when they was trying to get a water sewer guy, I think Joe Neely took the test a couple times, and if he passed the test and was hired, well, obviously hired, then he had to be here 2 years, and if he didn't stay the 2 years, he had to reimburse. Is that correct?
Yeah.
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 So that's.
Yes.
That's the way it is now?
Mhm.
Okay.
And none of the guys we already have want to do that?
No, they do.
Oh, they do, that's what you're saying?
Right,
Okay.
I, like I say, I don't want to mention any names or anything like that. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
generally speaking, you know what employees we have and so forth. So I'm just trying to see where we can go with this. So if I can put a package together for council to say, yep, let's do this, I can start moving forward and get something.
Financially, it'd be better to have one of them be trained to do it than to try to hire somebody else where you got to pay insurance and everything
It
else.
depends how much this is gonna cost, this electric.
Yeah.
From Lakeview,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
might not have any money.
but you still, you just, because of the education and because of the money he's gonna save us, because we don't have to call in Amp Ohio, it would still be worth, training somebody. I mean,
Right.
I went down there.
Well, right now, if I had, let's say, a house drop, come off a house, I have nobody here to fix it.
And that
I have to
is-
call Lakeview, Jackson Center, Wapak, or bring Amp in. The last power outage that we had was the first of the month, where the west end, during all that wind, Rodney gave me a call because I seen it flicker, I heard the snap, and then I figured somebody's gonna call me. Well, I didn't have anybody on call that day, that night. So I went out, troubleshot the line, found out where the problem was, got a hold of an Amp. It's a 2-hour drive for him to come up here from Springfield.
Wow.
I went out about 1 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we got everything done, it was 4:30 by the time I got in. But we got everything up and running. If that happens again, we will have to do that same thing, because these people will not be trained to do primary work. But I'm not insured or anything else to actually be doing any of that work, okay? So it's kind of a touchy situation.
And
but-
secondary is not that difficult to understand.
No,
Primary,
right.
stay away.
And I wouldn't ask them to replace transformers
Oh,
or
no,
anything
no.
like that. You know, it's a 220 house drop coming into a house knob or something like that.
Did these people come to you, or did you kind of hand around to them? I mean, they're interested.
Oh,
right?
I've been beating the bush for the last year,
Okay.
trying to figure out. And now, I will be honest, I did talk to somebody that has done a lot of lineman work, that has retired from where he did work, and throwed him a bone. Whether he'll
Is
want
that
to do
something
anything
maybe
or not,
he'd
I
be
don't know.
wanting to do on call, or?
Well, the way I approached it was anytime, any hours, anything that this person could provide would be appreciated, and I'll try to make sure he gets paid.
With our secondary guy being a ground guy.
Yeah. So I'm out there trying to, do whatever we can.
I say get everything together and,
Yeah.
see what we can do.
I'd say one plus, if we talk about one of our guys, he's already covered by our insurance anyhow, so that wouldn't cost us
Right.
just a little more wages, that'd be it.
Yeah, and for somebody to do that, I don't know the schooling, I know when I went down, the village actually, I had a choice. It was like a little over an hour drive to where they were at. And I could either drive back and forth, and got paid for gas mileage, or I could stay at a
And
hotel.
it'd be the same thing.
Yeah, and it, to me, I just drove back and forth. Because when I
Right.
home. So, but yeah.
Well, and it still leaves me with a problem. I have a very good candidate to be a great addition to the village. Problem is, what he's going to need to be compensated is so close to what we're already paying our top-notch guys that
And that happens.
And that's happening all over, that's why I say, I got,
Yeah, my daughter works at Spencerville at Charles Laboratories, and she's been there for about 15 years, and now they're hiring people in within $2 or $3 of what she's making, and she's been there, and that's, that's.
Can we offer more,
It's hard to handle.
like holiday days or?
I think.
well,
Council should get
something that, another thing that you could start thinking about, that rather than, in some cases, instead of extra money, look at it possibly, you're paying, Angie, what we pay, 95% of their insurance?
For the employee portion, it's 95.5, and then dependent portion, it's 75.25.
So you look at, okay, we'll pay 100% of the employees, those types of things are what we need to look at.
An extra day off or extra week off or.
Yeah, something to entice.
Still costs money.
One was 50.
Well, anyway, one more thing I want to try to go over here is the storm sewer issue that I see potentially happening. And again, this will be down on Mulberry Street. Okay, what's happening? You'll know where the storm drain is. It's between 213 and 215. It goes due south, and then it goes underneath the garage going east, and fence now. And here's the potential. The person that bought the Spencer property is planning on putting up a garage and an addition on top of this line as well, leaving it unserviceable for the building.
Is there a current easement over it?
That's the zoning. That's part of.
Well, that's not zoning, that's whether the easement is recorded, that's the key. Do we know?
I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so. But anyway,
Has that garage been approved to be built? Do they have to get a zoning permit to build that garage?
yes.
Has that been approved?
No, not yet.
I'd get a title search done, see if there's an easement across that property. If there's an easement, then I would deny that garage. Just for that fact, you're not wanting to build a garage over the easement.
Well, you've already got one.
You've got one, but that's grandfathered in based on
here's the
whoever
problem.
made the mistake.
Those properties have water issues. All this line comes from up at Guthrie, comes down, goes to that catch basin, goes down. Downspouts are tied into it, so on and so forth. It's only a 4-inch, and it's not going to handle what it needs to.
I think it's private land tile too, isn't it?
Yeah, just clay land.
Yeah.
So, my suggestion is, as a future project, instead of that line going south and then turning and going under these two properties, is bring it due east on the south side of Mulberry Street to the alley, and then go south. And increase that line to be able to handle what's coming through there.
That can make more sense than having that dad bought takes Scott's Spencer's house and build another garage over top of it.
Yeah, that you don't want to happen for sure. And you really don't want to, I guess you really don't want to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, part of that goes under Hudson's slab, isn't it? Concrete slab to his
No,
garage?
it's right in the
It's
center
under
of
the
the garage.
garage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, you really don't want to discourage somebody from not building their garage.
Exactly. That's,
But we come this way, that get away from that garage being built.
well, we go down the easement right there on the south side of Mulberry, and the only thing that we would have to do is where the cement drive has been put in, we'd have to replace some cement. That's far better than letting it go, and these properties have been, the one has already been built up, the other one will be built up with a garage on it. What's going to do is send all that water down to farther east, clear down to the brick house, which is already getting the brunt of some of this.
Would this be a contract, or would we be doing?
I think we have the equipment we could handle doing that, and I already have the pipe, so, and I already have the catch basins to be able to do it.
Did you put it 6 inch then, or did you say 4?
6.
6?
No, I think I have 8. So if I've already got 8 inch
Better
pipe,
yet.
I'll put 8 in.
Get all the way to that water. Now, that new fence, is that far enough away from the alley?
There's no zoning.
There's no
issues.
zoning that says they can put a fence on the property line, they can put a fence
Yeah, we
anywhere.
discussed that a while back, or Jimmy, about it, because that's kind of a new one, wasn't it?
There's,
That'd be
yeah,
3
there's
feet,
nothing
yeah.
in the current zoning that says anything about fencing. Nothing.
Never has been.
Because we widened that alley, it right into his fence. Which, technically, the city owns.
So anyway, I wanted to put that on the project list for this summer sometime to address that if we can. But right now, like I say, I'm shorthanded with people. I have 2 full-time, 2 part-time, and we got mowing to do, we got meters to read, we've got tons of stuff.
Maybe this should be under old business. What is the progress on, behind, Jeff Stuber's place? We got water lays, and behind, Lois and Lisa's place.
Okay,
I seen that you had something in there.
yeah, I had Craig Masher over here, he took a look at it. Of course, I knew it was gonna be bleak, but he's going to do an assessment of that and figure out if it can go west. Initial looking, not looking good, but he's gonna do elevations and find out. I talked to him about the county going south, their participation. He says for 2 properties, they will talk to us. So, until he does a feasibility study and find out what the possibilities are, we're kind of just hanging out there.
I'm sorry, I just moved in accidentally out the window.
Watch it, will you?
It wasn't,
I thought
it was
something
not,
was coming in
it
the
was
door.
not intentional, it just,
All right. Anything else on Mike?
Are we into old business?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, no.
No, I don't know.
All right. Mayor's court report was 1,369 was deposited. It was deposited into the general fund for the mayor's court account for the month of March. We need to have a discussion about having meetings. You guys said you want to have meetings at the school board, or the superintendent called me and says, wants to know some dates, so I can get those down if you guys really want to do that.
I guess the issue would be, I mean, after I'm the one that suggested that,
There had to be no camera down there.
unless somebody did their phone.
You don't, if the meeting is open to the public, you don't need to be broadcasting it.
And
So
I
you
can
really,
say,
you really don't even need it to be
You
broadcasted.
can just move the meeting down to.
well, I could see where
Extra
if
room
we
back.
if we had a meeting where it was really open to, we felt like we were gonna have help, like a lot of people.
Like the zoning meetings.
Yeah,
those,
then
yes.
maybe-
And that's what we always did before.
Yeah, maybe we could move it up, because you're not gonna get many people in here, so.
We've had a couple meetings up before.
I just thought it would
Or different
encourage
things.
more people to come too, knowing that there's not a lot of room here, that if there was more room, more people would.
That happens.
And I know a lot of people would rather sit home in their easy chair and drink a beer and watch the council meeting than come to a meeting.
If we don't do it that way.
And like, you know, if we have a bunch of people or somebody's really interesting, then we could have it up there. It doesn't has to be recorded though, right?
No, it doesn't have to be
It
recorded.
didn't have to be recorded?
The meeting minutes is all that counts. So
Okay.
no, if it's open to the public, you don't have to broadcast it.
Okay.
You say, Mr. Kent smucked this idea? Rodney?
Huh?
You say Mr. Kent smucked this idea, had meetings up there?
No,
It was me.
Yeah, it had been brought up before.
and he wanted to know, I turned the papers in to him, and he said he'd like to know dates, if want to do it.
You talking about every council meeting or what?
Actually, I did, just thinking how
Well, that'd be
small it
something like
is
the
here.
fourth Monday of every month.
They do it for free.
Yeah.
We've had meetings up before, and nobody showed up at the council. So,
There were times where
If we feed them, they will come.
you gonna feed them, man, Deb?
We do cookies.
Not cookies, I'm talking about cookies.
You're a good cook.
I mean, what's your concern? Is that no one's coming to these, or
I just
are
feel
there
that
not
it's so
coming?
small, and I just thought it might encourage.
Part of it could be because you broadcast it.
Right, right. And
And
so
so
if we
if
didn't,
you're-
we'd get
if-
more involvement and.
So maybe one suggestion before you decide to go to the school is turn off the feed and force people to come and see how many people do come. And if you're starting to get to the point where it's standing room only, then you either A, take a poll of the village, do you want us to broadcast it or do you want us to move to the school? You know, and if they want to come in person, then move it to the school. If they'd rather have you broadcast it, then broadcast it how you are now.
That's where the house back at the park.
I like what he said, can we table it then and do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the house back at the park, if we get the play, come in handy, and we can have a meeting back here, accommodate more people.
I didn't hear what you said, Bob.
So that, if we decide what to do with the house back in the park, we could accommodate the council meetings back there.
Yeah,
More
I
people
mean,
could
if
come.
that's if it's a community center.
Can't find it, don't have an address.
What's that? Just say city park.
Can't find it.
Is there adequate parking there? That would be another.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, so I'm clear, is it council's request to not do the live feed next month and then poll the village to see whether they should have an in-person meeting or keep it online, or what's
It might take a couple months
to not do the online
Right.
Well, I can promise you, the moment I put out on social media that we're no longer broadcasting because Lakeview just did this, there will be a response. One way or the other.
more people attending than
No.
not.
Do you guys
Just crap.
track how many people watch them?
It tracks it for us.
Roughly, on average, you have between 75 and 100 views. And that doesn't mean they're sitting in the entire meeting. They may get a notification that we're live. They hop on and say, okay, I'm not going to watch this anymore. Some may stay on the entire time. We don't have those optics. We just have the number of people, unique people that have got on and seen that we're live. So anywhere between 75 and
But you
100.
have no idea how many of those are actually part of the community.
No, I
Right.
can tell you there's quite a few that are not from the community because they will comment and they don't live here. They live elsewhere.
I also thought another thing would be, maybe they would have suggestions about things that the village could be doing, and activities, and I don't know, I just was thinking bigger.
Well, if they're out of town, they won't be concerned about
I
what
mean,
we're doing.
quite honestly, if individuals have suggestions and things like that, I would hope that they wouldn't have to come to a council meeting to make those suggestions heard. Hopefully, they could talk to each council member and say, "Hey, I got an idea." All your guys' information is published. If there's a situation like that, and then you get into the forum setting where you now have the interaction between council and the public. That could be done separately from a council meeting where guests come in and generally make a request or have a complaint of some sort, that type of thing. But I just so I'm clear on whether or not to set up the live feed going forward, I just need direction
I
on
know,
what
Ron,
you want to
what do you
do.
I'd say let's stop it this month and see what happens.
Well, right now it's not working.
Yeah, I will say.
I can tell you, there's been feedback.
Yeah, I will say if you've seen Nathan and I
Yes.
back here, both of our phones are ringing off the hook because it's not working.
Not all the time, but you and I's on the woods.
Right.
Yeah.
That's before the live feed.
I can tell you that
Nobody's shown up.
our phones have been blowing up. The moment the sound wasn't working, I've got the IT guy working on it right now. He's been texting me, but I've had probably a half dozen
Yeah,
people
if
message
you
me
look,
and-
we just are
and
answering texts.
It's like did what I could do. I stopped it, restarted it. We rebooted the entire system, and that's not working. Something's going on a software issue. So there are people that are paying attention.
Yeah.
Not all the messages have come from residents. So some have come from outside the village. That just they have an interest in what's going on in Waynesfield.
It's standing water.
Oh, it is. It is. It can go all the way around the
There
world.
are, if you look on, it's not just who's watching it live though.
Right.
There are people who are
Watching
watching
later, correct.
Because they're at work,
They're-
they can't.
Exactly.
There's some
Yep.
meetings where there's been 247 views
Yeah.
of the meeting.
Yeah.
So it is getting out to residents.
And sometimes the
And
views are
what you guys
misleading.
do-
Sometimes the views are misleading because if you click off and then click back on,
Sure.
it'll show multiple views. But you're right. That is one of the complaints that the Lakeview residents complained was, I work second shift. I can't possibly attend or watch the meeting live, but I do want to stay up to speed on what's going on. So how can I stay up to speed? And I don't want to read the minutes after a month after they come out, or in their case, they have meetings every 2 weeks. So they don't want to wait 2 weeks to see what's going on. So take my opinion however you want to take it, but I think there's value into letting the public see that way. I just look at the fallout for now that people are used to it. The fallout could be really detrimental.
I've been saying something, but let's say something.
You have good advice?
Some of you who were recently elected ran on the premise of transparency. And if you're running on the premise of transparency and now you're going to shut off a live feed, I think you're misleading the public as to why you ran for office. That's all I want to say about that. Because that's a way to be transparent, is to have this being a live feed that people can see after the fact.
We can have
I just want to remind you of that.
I think people prefer to watch it. I think, like you said, they may not always
Right.
be able to watch it today, but they'll watch it tomorrow.
I want to be up there.
And I think people prefer that. And I think if we shut it off, I don't think it's going to increase the number that come to the meetings.
And
People are just going to get angry and
Yeah.
say, you don't do anything I want
I don't
you
think it's
to
going to
do.
do a thing.
And they'll be calling up here during the business day,
Yep.
and her and Bina are going to have to take those calls and have to answer why.
Yeah. Or we'll be printing a bunch of CDs, as
Right.
public records, which is fine, but it's easy. You can just refer them to Facebook. And I will say, even though I record it with a tape recorder, I refer back to the Facebook. It's clearer on Facebook, so I do refer to the Facebook video a lot when I'm doing meeting minutes. So,
And the comment about people that are not from the village watching it, they could be people that grew up here.
Oh, sure.
Mhm.
And they're watching
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
it.
Yep.
So
There's people in
it's not-
Florida and Arizona
it's
that are
not
watching.
just some
There's-
stranger from
Right.
another town. It's people that
Sure.
grew up here,
Sure.
moved away, but they're still concerned and interested in what's going on with
So I
the
think if we
village.
have
It could also be people who are looking, saying, hey, I'm going to be working at Honda in Marysville or in Anna, and I'm looking for someplace to live. And they're watching these council meetings, folks. I'm telling you, that's how they're looking at schools, they're looking at governments, and they're looking at how things are happening infrastructure-wise.
You may have
Buy
businesses,
properties.
potential investors that are
Absolutely.
looking to see what's going. I mean, sometimes we get lucky and a potential investor drives through and likes what they see. Sometimes a lot of them will look online and see what the meeting minutes look at the council meetings. They'll do their homework so they don't have to spend resources to come to the community ahead of time.
So when you're saying that, has that happened? I mean, who did they go talk to?
We've not had any businesses come that I'm aware of look at our online stuff, or at least they've not conveyed that. But I'm just saying, when you put it out on the internet publicly, it can reach worldwide.
So how did you guys know when you were going to go to the school? I mean,
the zoning meeting, and they had large groups going to show up.
but he's asking for dates, so,
It has to be publicized.
Yeah.
but
Well, there are
do
times
they
when
need dates?
you have
you'll know.
If we had to do a zoning meeting,
You got to
we
publish
would
it.
have to give, I think you have to give 30 or 60 days notice. We would have to make arrangements with the school before we even did that. I mean, there's a process for the
And that's going to be
zoning.
a meeting where you're going to have a lot of people. You know a lot of people are.
Yeah, make sure nothing's going on at the school at the same time.
Right,
And
we would have to coordinate, the zoning committee would have to coordinate with the school to come up with a date far enough in the future. I think what Mr. Pence is saying is if you're planning on council meetings in the next year, you know what your council meeting is the fourth Monday of every month, are you wanting it to come in January or, but
I see what
What
He's
we
just wanting
always
to
did
plan a schedule.
before,
Yeah.
when we had zoning board public meetings, we would have our council meeting normally first, get that done, and then it was opened up as a public meeting for the zoning issues or whatever it was at the time. That way,
And
all
as
back
I,
on the same day.
as I recall, a lot of it was on natural gas.
Natural gas.
No, a couple of things after that.
Dollar General.
Couple of things after that.
When we had the
Yeah.
boys' home, those types of issues bring a lot of people out.
Mhm. But those are planned far enough in advance that you'd have.
You would know in advance how many people will show up.
It's
They're on the
amazing,
top,
you know,
right?
the school board meetings aren't broadcast, but nobody shows up to them things.
Nobody.
The times I've been there, I've been the only person there viewing.
This is the new way to communicate right here. People want to sit at home and be able to be involved through this or their computer or whatever.
Let's keep it
That's
on.
okay.
We're working on the tech issues right now. Hopefully it'll
You know, if
be
we can't.
straightened out for
if we
next
can't
meeting.
fix that, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, and we may have to look again. I'm in communication with our IT guy, but we may have to look using the same system. We may have to broadcast on YouTube instead of on Facebook. If it comes to that, we're going to get those issues hopefully worked out for the next meeting. So, like I said, he's actively working on it right now. He just messaged me and said he's trying to figure out if it's a Facebook issue, if it's a Brian. So we will continue. So I know we will continue business as usual going forward. That works. That's all I needed.
Anybody watching this?
Sorry for the problem.
They'll be confused.
They won't know because there's no volume.
Resolution things?
Yeah, can we get to the agenda, I think it's straight.
Yeah.
All right, do the old business.
On your business?
Oh, about the amount of time you do something.
Yeah, well, you just want to do it?
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question about that before we start. The resolution says allotted to 10 minutes. I thought when it was brought up, it was discussed 35.
No, I think it was.
I can decide on
We
10.
said-
I think the final one last meeting was 10 minutes, yeah.
It's
Okay.
10, and then we could make it
But
down to
10
3
would
to
be
5
better.
if there's more.
It was 10, and then I think the language I put in there is,
They could change it at any time.
council has discretion to modify the allotted time for guests to speak without advance notice as their circumstances dictated. So if you guys walk into council meeting, there's 15 people listed as guests. At the beginning of the meeting, you guys can say, okay, because of the people here, we're gonna allot only 3 minutes this meeting.
Okay, fine, that's good.
And you guys is all right. You guys didn't go beyond the time you talked about.
You did a
I
good
thought
job.
I just talked.
She just talked.
Yeah, just something to watch off.
We'll have a timer.
Now, when we talk, she still got her minutes, like you can sell minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, shut up, Bill.
Oh, like they do in Congress?
I think I
Yeah.
agree with Barb, you guys need to stay on track.
Okay.
Getting on track here.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 22-4-2. A resolution setting forth the amount of allotted time a guest can speak at council meeting to declare an emergency.
A second. Oh, we already did it.
Not cut him off.
Ball,
That's my bad.
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingardner.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 22-4-3, a resolution increasing the
Will
number
you,
of zoning
make
board
this
appeals
resolution?
members from 5 members to 7 members.
The one about them
Go ahead.
changing the
You want a second?
zoning board members. They upped it last month.
I'll work down. Good time.
Walty.
You need me to type that up?
Mm-hmm. Ball,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingardner.
Okay, with that being
Yeah,
done,
there's a couple more on the back. Right.
can do that. Okay. I'm going to appoint
Go ahead.
I'm going to appoint Randy Carter as another one on the board.
Mainly because when I talked to Mr. Zimmerman, and he was okay to do that, to be on the zoning board, and he said that was fine. And then when I went down after that meeting, and he said, Bill, I'm 85 or 95, however old he
I
is.
talked to him last week, he said, you think I'm crazy?
And he said, I don't think that I want to do that. So then that's.
I'll get that drafted tomorrow. Okay, sounds good.
Question, does these people have to live in town?
One can be from the county.
Yeah.
That's by the regulations.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember the Ohio Revised Code off the top of my head. I know one's like the mayor, one's like a council member. A couple of them are residents from the village, and then I think they can be outside residents. Stuff
Okay.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
They don't have to be a resident of the village, but they do have to be a resident of the county in which they're on the board for.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other old business?
Yes.
Wait, do we vote on Randy?
I don't think they don't have to vote on Randy.
Motion that we do that?
No.
He's appointed.
Yeah, no, the mayor appoints them.
Oh, you made an appointment.
We got to vote on Randy being under, don't we?
No,
No, we
just
haven't.
appointed him.
Okay.
Oh.
Appointed.
Okay.
Because he's not an employee or anything, so.
You want Bob to continue with this?
All right, we got this sheet of old business, yeah?
Someone's on the old business, where just with Mike's report.
Yeah, you say they're gonna replace the tile. Do you have a date on that? The tile in here?
Oh, okay, so.
What is it? The floor, they actually just brought us the samples today. They had a hard time getting them in the mail. From the looks of it, it looks like that's what we're going to go with. It's pretty much the exact same thing. The way they made it sound is to order it. It's probably a month or so out, and I don't know about an installation date. I would just assume it's not going to be soon. Everything else has taken a long time. He didn't give me a date.
So it's doing it for no price?
Correct. Yep. They spent lots of time in here taking pictures and measuring, and it was not anything that we did. They didn't make it sound like it was laid incorrectly. They said it's all cupping, whatever that means. If you look at it, it almost looks like it's bowing. So we passed the inspection and they're replacing it for free. Yes.
Okay, so that was one. I know one of the questions
This is when we
was,
glued down the new one.
Yes, it will be glued down. It won't be this same vinyl plank. They said that the glue down would work
this is
best.
okay, I know one of the things on the old business was the poles on Dave Webb's property. He questioned about them being moved.
Yeah.
Do we know what's happening with that?
Yeah, we're talking with AMP as far as what can be done, if we can just move that pole to the west to the property line or not. Michelle Palmer is supposed to be taking a look at that. She designed that build. If we can't, I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. But I do know that there's a possibility of another house going in out in that area. That may change the scope of things as far as where lines run, where we can do some moving. It may be the pole the pre-existing pole that's on his property that he said was okay to put there. We move it to the west, and that shortens the span. Well, like I say, Michelle Palmer, the engineer, is going to have to decide what the best route to take there.
Mike, one other thing, what's the progress on flushing the fire hydrants? I think you said that was going to be done between...
We do it between April and August.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anytime.
Okay, whenever they get...
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sure Albert will make sure that is done.
Okay.
Any other old business?
Yeah, I have a question. Has everybody done their sunshine law training? Because we are due for an audit this year, and that's one of the things we'll get dinged on if it's not done. So, give everybody plenty of time to get that done.
Deb has come up and I have helped her set up her account. Anybody else that's ready to take the training, feel free to stop up. I will walk you through at least getting the account set up. It takes about 3 hours, but you don't have to do it all at once. It chunks it down into like 20 or 30-minute increments. You have your entire term to get it done, but we have been dinged in the last couple audits that it was not completed by council or mayor, vice versa. So yes, and it is very good training. I think everybody should take it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Do you need a copy of the certificate for the purpose of the audit?
Yes, I do, and I'll put it in your guys' files. And they do ask for them. That's why I said we have been dinged on it in the past.
Okay.
So, okay.
Any other old business?
Oh, I have one more thing. Regarding the issue that came up a while back about snow plowing with the Dollar General, I was curious as to how that works. So I went out and talked to the manager, and she said that she usually gets here at 7:30, and if the lot would happen to be plowed, then she goes in, puts in a ticket, which I guess is an order to somebody down the line. They pick it up and then arrange for someone to come plow. But she said it's always at their leisure. So she was very appreciative when whoever plows the lot out, because she said a lot of times when she gets there at 7:30 to open the store, she has people sitting in the lot waiting to get in. So that's just informational about how that works.
One other thing, I think this is being our old business. Aunt Lyle was in and they cut the power off at, I don't know what Joe's address is, Joe Gilroy, because they was.
Yes.
And I talked to Joe, and Joe said that he did get, I think, Bean or somebody put a notice on his door that the power was going to be off. And that is exactly how it should
What
be
we
done.
try to do is when
Because
we
he had his
schedule-
phone number, I guess.
Yeah,
And he can't hear from anyone.
yeah. That's what we try to do. If we can't get a hold of them, we try to reach out to them or their neighbor or whatever, let them know this is what's going
I think it
on.
was him and Pam, I think, was out. I'm not sure. Okay, done. Shut up.
Both of them had Cheryl.
Huh?
Both of them had those.
Yeah, because the line,
Did you do?
it's a long line and it comes through trees, pine trees, and I don't know what they're gonna do, whether they're gonna try to run another one or, actually it's a long, it needs another pole, support pole, but I don't know if they're gonna do that or not. I have no clue. So. I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah, I'll shut up.
All right, new business?
I have a question. The stuff that you're doing on the west side, southwest side, Martha Prater has called me a few times, several times, and her property is 204 Wayne Street, which you're aware of. I guess there's a lot of water problem there. So is anything that's being done on that end going to alleviate?
We have already put a catch basin in the alley, along Cussing Street, between that property and the Marshall property, a year ago. They can tie into that.
So at this point, they need to do the
It's-
tiling?
Yes, the village is not going to go on private property and put tile to drain the property.
Can you call her and talk to her?
Well, I've had this conversation 40 times, so has the mayor.
I told her that myself. I didn't know
Yeah.
what was going on, but I said, whatever, you will have
So
to do.
what we have down there, we have, between those properties, we put in another catch basin.
Lucky you, I got Charlie Rush to do it.
We also have a catch basin on the corner of Cussing and Wayne.
Non-state.
So they have two opportunities to take care of their problem.
Okay, I'll tell her. she'll still have to talk to you about how to tie in and stuff, right?
We inspect where it's tied into our system.
She would have
That's
to be a
what we do.
contractor.
And if a hole needs, if a homeowner's trying to do this, it's one thing. A contractor, a lot of times, we will allow them to cut the basin because they've done hundreds of them. We just inspect. But if it's somebody we don't feel comfortable with, we go down, you know what I'm talking, Bill. We cut the hole in the catch basin for them to tie in. We inspect that connection.
Okay.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up, because the two catch basins that is on my property, one of them is on my property, I don't have a problem with that, and the other is on the other side of the street. Well, the grout is starting to come out, so somebody from the village gets this idea of wrapping
I've had this discussion
it's
about a month ago.
and it's plugging it up.
I didn't know this was going on. It has not been corrected yet, but we do have the hydraulics, cement and everything
Okay.
to correct that problem.
Because that, we went and looked at it, and at times, that would flop over, and
Yeah, that's on their
Okay.
list to do, yes.
I'm done again.
There's another, Alan.
I think some of what the biggest problem is their neighbors too, the way they're letting their water run off their house.
Right, and what can we
it's
do about
running on
that?
her. There's not a whole lot we can make,
I
what
guess
can we
there's
do?
been
Really?
conversations about it, and even, she said Doug Reinhardt came down and looked at it and said it was their gutters bringing it out.
Yeah.
And I
You know,
guess,
I don't think we can force them to,
She can sue
it's
them.
not our problem.
She can sue them.
It's a civil case.
It is.
It's a
Yeah,
case
it's-
between her and
There's
neighbors.
nothing on the village. I mean,
Yeah, it's not the
we
village,
try
yeah,
to
but she-
provide an
but she
outlet
keeps
for
complaining
them.
every time I go
That's
back
all
and
we
walk
can
the
do.
park.
She can go to the resident and ask them to divert their water.
they've had
And
conversations.
if they choose not to, then she needs to bring
She can
a civil lawsuit.
Well, if I remember correctly, I believe the mayor said him and his son was gonna go down in there and dig that tile in.
It may.
Did you volunteer for that?
We do a lot of
Line
work for
council
them.
professionalism,
Okay,
thank you.
we've had the conversation, so.
Read it back to the agenda, please.
Yeah. You got the other page, the other side of that page to read.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 22-4-4, resolution adopting and implementing a uniform policy for projects funded in the whole or in part by federal funding.
I second.
Does everybody understand what that is?
It's about the money from the COVID.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure Angie felt comfortable that everybody.
This is what we're
So
looking at.
the reason for
It's like the
this,
government.
I was doing the online training through the auditor state that they do every spring, and there was a lot of training regarding this ARPA money because they gave it to us and no guidelines had come out. So lots of the guidelines were in that meeting. And one of them was, since it's not state funding and this is actual federal funding, that we needed to adopt this federal policy. It's pretty much stating that we have to follow the federal reporting guidelines. There's different federal limitations from the state. And it's not too late to adopt it. The way they made it sound is it was something that lots of people didn't know needed to be adopted. So that's why I put it on the agenda, to get it out of the way now so we don't forget about it. So it's pretty much, nothing involving you guys. It just puts more work on me, pretty much. So.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Okay, Ball,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Motter,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner. The next one on here, before anybody makes a motion, is for village insurance. It wasn't up for for an insurance change or anything. It was just a renewal in our policy, and actually the rates went down, which surprised me because nothing's going down right now. So we'll take it. So that's all that is. It just automatically renews on May 1st.
No, go ahead. You're doing fine. You're great.
Motion is made to adopt resolution 22-4-5, a resolution to adopt Anthem Health Plan, SOCA benefit plan, Blue Access, with Ohio Insurance Services for the Village of Waynesfield. I'll skip them other numbers.
I was going to say.
Wait, you can't go unless you do that.
Sorry about that.
I second it.
Ball,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
Next thing on here, it's that time of the year. We do this around this time every year. Set the community garage sale dates. Nathan and I looked. It looks like it should be July 2nd. That's the Saturday around 4th of July. That's totally up to you guys. And then the other thing is usually the Saturday after community garage sales, we do community cleanup. Totally up to you guys again. I will say that I did price some dumpsters to give you guys some ideas of what, because I didn't know if the prices of dumpsters skyrocketed. It usually runs us around $1,500 to do the community cleanup. J&N Haulers is who we've used in the past. They said that they would give us dumpsters for $500 a piece. We usually get 3 of them. And then I also called a place called Bobcat Multi-Works. It's actually where we've been getting the porta potties for the park. And they told me they've been actually trying to get a hold of villages regarding community cleanups. That was something they wanted to get involved in. I think I was the first one that had reached out. I think they're new to the dumpster business. They said that if we went with them, they would give us the dumpsters for $425. I would still want to look into what they accept and what they don't, because we do have to put that out, but just something to think about, because it's going to cost the village around, $1,000 to $1,500 to do community cleanup. So I just wanted to throw those numbers out there.
We usually have employees.
Yeah, employees' overtime wages from 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Usually council members volunteer to make sure that it is village residents that are participating. So.
And I would have to say, due to last year, that maybe we need to set some kind of rules for who, what, when, where, and so that we don't have the difficulty we had last year.
We had last year people from out of town coming in. No.
No, when I was back there.
No, it's a matter of the village helping individuals. And so if there's parameters that are set, what can be done, who can do it, I feel that's really important so that there is no question about,
I take it there's signs up as what you can put in there and what you can't.
no, I don't mean that. I mean,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
okay.
Yes, there is. I usually post it at all the posting locations and everything, and on Facebook what we can and cannot accept. Paint, tires, things like that are the things that we cannot
I
accept.
think the other part was made very,
Don't
Made
most
clear,
communities,
so-
yeah, don't most communities say though, is you gotta get it there?
I
You've got
have
to
no,
bring
I
it
just
to
think
the
as a
cleanup
council,
area.
we should make that decision so that there's no way that any questions can be.
What did you say?
I said, don't most communities, when they have cleanup days, say that you need to get your stuff to them?
Oh, sure.
So they don't come get it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to put that in writing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because
So
I
that
think that's the way
everybody
most
knows,
communities have
and
done
I
it.
think last year it was a matter of an employee not knowing and just thinking he was doing something nice, but then it became a major conflict, so
Fine.
I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, it has to be taken out there. We can't go.
That's what it's been the last 2
Yeah, we
years.
can't go get
Since I've been
it. We
there,
can't
yeah.
go get it.
I think all parties involved know what it is, and that issue has been resolved, and we just move forward, as what to do and what not to do.
So we all know. Okay.
Yes, there you go.
I think I would recommend going to the same company we've had. I mean, we pretty well know what they'll take, and we've had no problems with them.
Okay. It'll just be about $75 more a dumpster, but that's totally up to you guys.
I think if she
Well,
finds
they'll
out
take-
what they'll take, and if it's the same things, you're saving $75 a.
Same size dumpster.
Yes, it is. They're 3 30-yard dumpsters is what I was quoting. And like I said, I've only called 2 places. There's many more places. There was 2 on the top of my head the day that Mike and I had talked about it, and I was like, I'm going to get quotes really quick. That way I knew I had them so I could present them to you guys.
Can we have a report next week?
Did you ever get a quote from Brown's?
Yeah. I did not.
Okay.
I was just gonna say the same.
I think I've called Brown's in the past, and there was an issue as to why we didn't use them. I don't know if they didn't accept something or if it was like the limit in the dumpsters, but there's been a reason why we didn't use them in the
I
past.
think the issue should be, are you going to have community cleanup? And if you are, set that date. And if you are, between Angie and I, typically we handle getting the dumpsters, doing all that. We'll make sure that we get the best
Bang for the buck, yeah.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
Do we need a motion to go with them dates then, or?
Or I don't know if you really need to make a motion or if you just need to say those are the dates you want. Everybody just agrees
I
on
was just
those.
thinking cleanup before the yard sale.
Well, I think everything that they don't sell at the yard sale, then they take to the cleanup and throw away. So hopefully, I think that's how it's designed to work. Whether it does or not, I don't know.
Well, I guess I said we go with them dates and.
Okay, everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Solicitor's report.
Only thing I have tonight is for the council, the majority of you are newer. I would ask Angie maybe to pull any old, maybe employee contracts that you guys need to look through. I know there are some contracts that council's supposed to review on a yearly basis for potential raise. That's up to council to do that, and I know that that hasn't happened on some, so we're in April now, so I would just advise council, get with Angie, I'm sure she can pull up whatever employees have contracts that need to have a review. Because otherwise you're potentially breaching a contract.
Do we not have a scale that says that, this many years, this percentage, or how do you even figure what somebody?
Depends what the contract says. One contract that I can remember off the top of my head says council's supposed to review every year. And then if it's up to council, it's their discretion. I believe it's a 2% raise. So it's already built into the contract. But council has to approve that. And if you have
Our
any,
employees don't have
And I think we've
contracts.
only got
so
2,
that
Jared's
would
and
be the
Mike's.
word.
yeah.
And we have a scale range of what each classification, what they can go up to.
Well, and the other
guess
issue
which
is,
ones are-
can we afford it too, so.
Well, we usually describe that in a finance meeting.
Okay.
And one quick thing before
So whose contracts are
we get
like,
out of here.
okay.
take
So
it
I
that
guess
all of our
village
employees
contracts
have
in
an
general.
employee handbook.
Village contracts in general,
Okay,
yes.
because I think we have 2 is what I'm,
In that handbook, it's safety, a lot of home safety stuff. Okay.
So Angie says there's only 2 contracts that council needs to look at.
as far as I think there's just 2. There's water and sewer and then village administrator, I think are the 2 that we've got, which I'll double check, but. So.
Do you mind bringing
Right,
that up?
yeah, I mean, we've got contracts like Perry Protec and stuff, but that's like printer that's not like, I'm not gonna use the word employee, but
No, but yeah, if there's any contracts that council
consulting
hasn't
contracts.
reviewed,
Okay.
because I know the majority of the council is brand new and trying to get your guys' feet wet and your feet under you, some of that stuff could slip through the cracks. And I
Right.
don't want you guys to be in a potential breach of contract situation. So,
Is there any way that we can get those banners mostly on the south side off those poles and put them on utility poles before Memorial Day?
Well, you've only got so many utility poles.
There's enough through the village, though.
Yeah.
If you don't care where they're at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, on the
I
side
think
street.
down Main Street,
If you don't care where they're at.
yeah, I think we
Absolutely.
could, I think we could double them too, each one double.
Yeah.
I think it looks
Absolutely.
good.
But see, the initial thing was they wanted them on the main,
Yeah,
well,
well, and also think we can go down the square, we can decorate around them with the Christmas decorations.
They have to be, they have to be down.
I think there's a
left
resolution
message
on
to
page
Barb,
7.
and you didn't get back, but that's okay. They have to come off of those poles, period.
well,
You're talking about the light poles, put them on the
The,
utility pole.
the fiberglass poles.
Fiberglass poles.
okay, if you wanna go down that
Have you
road,
discussed
let me
the
just
issue with
kinda
the Legion?
explain.
I tried to get a hold of somebody down there. I actually called the ladies auxiliary, and they haven't got back with me because, you know, that's the way I wanted to go, is get their opinion of what they wanted to do.
Right, because that was their project.
Yeah.
However, if they're damaging the poles, you know, can they come to some agreement with the village about
That's what she
what
talked
to,
about.
yeah, about what to do?
That's what she was
talking
getting
about.
at.
Yeah,
was those-
yeah,
I know.
Those banners that
I'm
you
just-
guys just kind of blew me off.
yeah. It needs, they just have to come off. There's no other way. They have to come off of those.
Right.
They just do.
We
I'm
have
on the
three,
auxiliary,
So-
she is a member of the auxiliary,
I didn't
so,
know that.
yes.
No, he just called me, and I was just thinking that it shouldn't be brought up to council, it should be discussed with the Legion first.
Did I leave that on the message? to you?
No.
Okay, but
Being that
that's,
it was their project,
yeah.
you know.
I think it was brought to my attention that I should get a hold of somebody.
Yeah, he didn't say that.
Yeah,
The-
I know that.
Yeah.
The main thing is the banners were not hung correctly, and that's why they were coming off and ripping and that, because they just need those zip ties on them. And for some reason,
Westminster is the only
for s-
problem
for
area.
some
Yeah,
reason,
there's one over here.
for some
They all
reason,
need to
they
come
were
off,
not
huh?
informed when they hung them that they needed the zip
This pole
ties.
over here
And
is-
that's why I gave you that paper that says
I saw
that the zip ties were not included. And the auxiliary will supply those zip ties if that's, you know, an issue.
yeah, the
On
only thing
that.
a zip tie is gonna do is keep it from blowing off. It's
Yeah.
not gonna
Right,
change
right.
anything.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely
gonna
right.
change anything
No.
else.
And then the
And my
poles,
view on this and my employees' view on this is we were kinda given the job to put these banners up and maintain them. We have experienced light pole problems. I had one Friday that one of the poles up here came, we had to go through and tighten all the bolts up, try to keep from losing the pole.
It's
Well,
gotta be on
we
that
never-
fiberglass poles, and I didn't know there was fiberglass.
I didn't either.
So,
I didn't either.
but once we realize that, now we can move and put
Yeah.
one.
And, you know, myself and the employees, we don't care. If you want them on the side streets,
That's-
just
that's-
tell us what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the council does have to, because I think it was agreed not to put them in the square, but I think as council, we need, put them in the square.
there's no reason they can't
On,
be in
on
the
solid
square.
poles. They have to be.
The reason why council wanted to reserve the square was so if we want to put up Christmas
But we didn't
decorations.
have Christmas lights,
Well,
We didn't have any Christmas decorations.
but we do have veterans.
We were working on that, it got sidetracked.
Well,
So was them
My
zip ties
personal
originally
opinion
supposed to be
is
with
that-
them banners?
Yeah, well, they were supposed to be,
No,
they
they're
were
not
supposed to be
supplied, it
secured.
says right on there.
So there wasn't ship telling
No, no.
banners then, was it?
No,
Zip
they're not
ties?
supplied. They say
they're not, it
supplied.
says right on there, they were not included, the zip ties.
So then technically, you know, our guys didn't hang them wrong then. The zip ties wasn't included.
She said that.
I said that it was, I didn't blame Albert or Joe or any of them that hung them. They were, you know, they worked with us and were trying to put them, in fact, they tried to put them in the square in the beginning, but Mike stopped them and said they couldn't put them up. They had to go
Yeah,
clear past the
If
funeral
you
home.
need the side
before you
street, put them down the side
Sure,
street.
you
Change
can.
that.
the first one up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I say double.
Well, you don't need
that
to
way-
swear, just down the side streets. Some of these
Because
people live on
overall-
the side streets.
Just
But I
get them off
think
the
people
poles.
want to see them when they drive by. that's my idea, you
I
don't want to
get
just
calls,
hide
I
them.
get calls all the time. Where's my banner? Why's my banner turned? Why is this? Why is that? And frankly, I've had enough of answering questions about banners. We'll put them up, we'll try to keep them up, but that's as far as, the guys and I want to
The
go.
overall, Mike, don't you think that's a great thing to show in the response of the community of that?
Oh, yeah.
It's worth a little bit of
If
phone
it
call.
wasn't for our
about that.
veterans, none of us would be here.
That's right.
None of you would have your places at council or anything. Our veterans do everything for us.
I didn't know they were on honest.
Get them off the fiberglass poles. And-
I think
Down
we
the
deserve
alleys.
that respect.
Can't you put them in, why, okay, wait a minute.
Will the practice do why you have to go to utility poles? They're a lot wider.
Yes, we have to
If I put them on
do bands.
We don't get.
Veterans
So we're not gonna do bands to that.
Put them on the sides.
Because the utility pole's gonna be bigger than the fiberglass poles.
If you have
No,
no
they agree
Christmas
with the big
decorations,
things.
excuse me,
Huh?
if you
They
have
all
no
came
Christmas
with the large
decorations.
bands for utility poles.
Yes.
Why
And
couldn't
were
they
cut
just get
down.
screwed?
No, I'm telling you.
I don't know, am I supposed to take a meeting
Went to
of
Lowe's
this?
and bought
I
cases
can't
of
hear.
smaller ones as well.
Okay.
So,
we
in
need
the
bigger
end,
bands in. for
in
the-
the end, we're gonna take fiberglass
Can I
poles,
make a
Southwest
motion to
Central,
adjourn?
and we're gonna put them somewhere.
Okay. See, that's the only one of those.
Yeah, but don't put them somewhere where nobody sees them.
Yes.
I won't have a whole lot of choices. I
Well,
can't put them
there's-
all on the main,
I
on the
mean,
main
if we're going
drag.
clear down to the funeral home, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of empty space
It should
there.
be a
But if you
main
double
open
them,
Right to
space.
the funeral
Right,
home.
if there are poles.
My husband's gotta be at work in an hour.
Put them on CenturyLink poles or Spectrum poles, I don't have the authorization
Well,
to do that.
the pole Tim's was on, they said wasn't the village's pole, and they put it on there, it was on there. Of course, that pole broke.
Okay,
Band-Aid
so,
on it.
so let's just,
I know, it looks good.
let's just,
Okay, I make a motion, if we can.
Okay.
I can, that Mike's department talk to the auxiliary, is that right? About positioning so that they are being displayed in such a way that it gives honor. Am I saying this correctly? And not, I just don't see hiding them as being,
but there comes a thing too that, sometimes you don't have a choice. I mean, I don't know how many banners there are, you know.
I'm not sure now.
but then if
I know
they're
they- I know
working
There's
together.
18 fiberglass pole lights.
Okay, and I know we have one now by Glenn Valenti's house.
Yep.
That was one of the original
That was
ones
on
we
High
had put
Street.
up, and they put it there for
My
Joyce.
sister has got one, and I'm sure if you want to put it on a pole by our house, having said that, I make the motion that we adjourn.
You're getting
Here's
rid
the
of them.
motion on the floor.
Oh, I didn't know there was.
Yeah, she made a motion.
Okay,
So that they get together and talk about where the displays possibly can happen.
yeah, I think Barb and I said, at least I wanted to get with the Legion, and I really didn't, I talked to Diana, and she's real busy, and she said, can you put it on hold for a little bit, to find out what they thought and what they wanted to do, and I said, yeah, but it came up tonight, so.
I want to get done before Memorial Day.
Yeah, I
That's the
want
whole
to try to
thing.
get it done before Memorial Day.
If we
So
can.
I may be the person.
Because that's only a month.
So,
Now, do we have to do anything for school or anything? Because I'm new to this. Is the school notified Memorial Day to have the parade?
well, they have to get permit, don't they?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
The Legion generally for the Memorial Day, they fill out the permit and submit that to us.
Okay.
So, they have not done that as of yet.
Okay.
So, I'm not even sure who's in charge at the Legion now, but
It's still Bob Brink.
is Bob still, okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to make contact with Bob and remind him, that he just needs to fill that out. Going back to her motion, but before that motion's entertained, Angie and I were a little confused. Are you asking for the veterans banners to be removed from all the fiberglass poles or only the ones on Southwest Minster Street?
All of them.
Okay.
And
That's-
see, my dad's on one.
Sure.
So-
Yeah.
But there was a utility
Those
pole.
are fiberglass, the ones on South Westminster are the fiberglass
Oh,
poles.
these are
Those
not?
aren't.
These are aluminum.
Okay, well,
Okay.
Okay, I thought they
Only
were.
But what's happening with these is at the base, they're rocking.
Okay.
And Friday we had one that Angie called me and says, uh-oh. I go up and look at it and all the shim washers, or half of the shim washers were laying all out in the tree lawn. And so I had to get a hold of Heath and we got it tightened back down. We're gonna have to go through another process and check them and tighten them up.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I
yeah,
think we
yeah,
should
yeah,
get them off there.
And
Yeah,
you're
it's just
blaming
another
that
job.
on the
It
banners?
can be.
Huh?
And you're
They're
blaming
sales.
that on the banners?
I never said that.
Oh, okay, I'm just asking.
Well, you got a lot
I'm
of
just
wind.
telling you
A lot of the wind's happening
what's
too.
happening.
Yeah, it's-
Well, that just needs to be added to your list of to-dos. Check.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Well, on the fiberglass poles, just one last thing that I want to talk about is to upgrade the lighting on the fiberglass poles, which are failing, the transformers for the high-pressure sodium, okay, blah, blah, blah. To upgrade that is $320 a light.
that's LED.
To LED. To replace the pole, it's $977. So at a cost of $1,297 just to bring one of those back up to snuff. My suggestion is the finance committee take a look at, hey, we need to find some funding and just buy new lights and put up, rather than put any more money into these lights. I don't mind doing one here and there, but sooner or later, they're all gonna fail. I've got one broke off, and two others that are bad.
One, we originally gonna replace them, the Masterpiece on Northwest Mill Street.
That was always the plan, yes. But with everything else that's going on, the transmission line, the cost of linemen and all this, everything kind of gets backed up because the pot's only so big. So,
these was put in first, right? So we got the cheaper ones first, then got the better ones on the north, going north?
yeah. The one, the
Southwest Main Street was done first.
Yeah.
Southwest Main
So how did we get the
Street
cheaper
was,
ones then?
Pardon?
How did we get the cheaper fiberglass ones?
that was in on
The, part of the whole package?
that whole package on the rebuild.
Okay.
20 years ago.
Well, how,
No, it wasn't
What,
20.
2009, 2010, somewhere around there.
whenever Oxford Road and the lights had set in boxes for about 4 years and hadn't been put up yet, that was one of the first things in 2010 that it
I'm not
had
coming to
to
work
do.
tomorrow.
Get those lights up.
I got a whole shift yet.
I used to live down there.
I
We
will
used to live
home
down in Southwest
and long
Mill
have to
Street
cook
when
dinner.
That was
Okay,
done,
that-
so we moved here in 95.
I ran
Let's
my
put
daughter
20 years
something
to double
home,
those
so I was
But
late trying to
the
come
poles
here.
didn't go up, Bob.
Yeah, they didn't go
So,
up.
Had dinner
By
yet.
the
it
way,
might
yeah.
just clarify
The
it.
Southwest Main Street was done.
My daughter's game was at
But,
6, I'm like, I think I can make it.
I'm just gonna cut out like 2 hours
They
early
were
each day
there.
this week.
And wrapped in cardboard for a long time.
I'm there.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I'm gonna do. 3 o'clock every day, I'm going.
Yep.
Okay, we still have a motion on the floor. We're going
Can die for lack of a second,
second.
or it can die. You just not
Well,
doing it.
you know,
Well,
I
do they
kill
need
it.
to set a date first, or?
No, it's availability. Of course, things takes priority.
Did you get
know,
the bush recorded?
we don't
Me?
have to-
I have a motion started. She wanted Mike or Mike's crew to go talk to the Legion, but then I also heard Bill and Barb say that maybe they were going to talk to the Legion, so I just need to know what's going to happen.
Well, the Legion's right here,
Retraction.
and she has talked. Okay?
But I mean, what my objective is deciding on where you would like to have them, and where it could
Well, we would like to have them put up in the square to begin with. It's where they should have been in the first place. And then go from there. When you run out of room there, then go to the side streets. That's how they are in all the other communities.
Is
They
it
do
possible?
their main streets first,
All over,
and then.
along side streets and all.
Yeah, but they started out on their main
Is there-
street.
The
So
real
that's
fight was
something
put
the
in.
council
You say
should
there's
have.
They might put the interstate.
There's 18, is that what you're saying?
She's talking about the square, is it like
Is
a
there,
park square or is it?
Where our stoplight is.
I mean, obviously we can double up, right?
Right, so you need 9
You're talking about the square. I'm
The
thinking
one
like
stone
a,
line.
like a plaza.
So the motion is still on the floor?
The tree's gonna be a problem. We've got to trim the trees.
Yeah, I think,
I need to
do
get.
you have that motion or?
I do, but as of right now, it's not one anywhere.
All right,
Do
I
you,
retract
you
it.
want to retract it?
So where are we with it though?
They've made a, these guys are gonna make a decision. Is what I'm
If
understanding.
there's 18 of those poles, then you need 9 utility poles. Because you can put 2 on a pole,
Okay.
unless my math's wrong.
But there's some now where there's one on a pole where another one could be put.
The old map.
Yes.
It's right, but new map, I don't know.
One more thing, I do think we need to consider Don Smith doing something. So I'd like to make a motion that the village recognize Don Smith somehow. We can decide what that is. But
Should that go to a committee or
Typically,
something?
in the past, we've planted trees, we've had
Under the
plaques.
park
You
committee?
know, we got the red gullet plaque down there, there's several others in the park.
Mhm.
That's what we've done. in
Is the
past.
Baptist church gonna do anything?
Yeah, maybe it'd be a good idea to get a hold of somebody at the Baptist church and.
I'm
get
sure
the
that they're gonna
idea-
do something.
get the
I would
idea.
imagine.
Yeah, but if the village wants to do something on their own, on the village's property, whether it be, like we did the Clyde Cook thing out
Mhm.
here, or something at the park on a stone, we just decide what you want to
Should a
do.
bench be made?
Pardon?
A bench up at
I
the
would,
square?
I would just refer it to, if your motion is to have the village decide something, but then I would refer it to the proper committee. If you're gonna plant a tree
That's
or
what we've
build a
done in the
bench for the
past.
park, whatever, it should go to the park committee or whatever, for them to decide, and then bring it to council saying, this is what we decided to do. And then you guys can vote on that and say, okay, yes, let's do that. That way they can get some financing involved too and say, okay, it's gonna cost this much, for whatever it costs for the tree. I think earlier there was a mention of possibly a day to
Yes.
remember him.
Yes.
I don't know what committee that would fall under, but they could even.
Before the next council meeting.
What was that?
That would be the day before the next council meeting. It's May 22nd.
Well, the
isn't it?
mayor
Right.
could do a proclamation for
Mhm.
crying out loud.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what we did for
yeah. I
his
mean,
sister.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That would be fine.
So it could be done ahead of time.
Mhm.
I just thought the 22nd because that was his birthday.
That's great thinking.
I'll get my favorite person to write one up.
Mm-mm, don't look at me.
Where does the proclamation go? I mean, I don't know anything about that.
It's just a statement that's read at council, and it goes on the record.
There's several up on the wall up there. You can see some different proclamations.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it again, I did it once.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
It worked for you.
Ball.
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner. Thank you.
Over there.